What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical on me, it is 5:30 on the dot on the East Coast, 2:30 West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. So, of course, images time of the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. It's a Friday. Joining me today is Will Priester, Chief Justice. Well, how are things in your world? Are we happy it's Friday? Do days even matter?
And I'm so happy it's Friday. So incredibly blessed. And for a variety of reasons. One reason in particular, anyway, she's over there on the computer.
Oh,
I usually talk about her on shows. She's so amazing. You know what I mean? She's so great. At any rate, I've got this pen in my hand, writing down home run plays as we speak, getting very excited.
Are you writing down teams or names? Like just
no, names. These are names, names. And guess what? So I was trying to give this beautiful young lady her props, but she's so into her work that she can't even hear me talking about her.
Well, does she watch the show? Does she know you do
no, of course she knows I do a show, Dean. She's right over there.
Well, I don't know.
She's working
you're on a
too.
Skype call or something.
No, we're not on a Dean. If you're insulting my girlfriend again, I'm coming through this.
That wasn't an insult.
Okay. If that happens again, I'm gonna poke you with this pen in the eye. I'm just kidding.
Sure, she's
but not. But yeah, she's amazing. This guy, man, so great. At any rate, I'm just trying. I've got one more home run call I think I'm gonna have to write down. And I'm excited about this slate, huge slate. Let's get it in.
Yeah, later on the show, of course, we'll knock out our favorite home run calls. We'll entertain all the questions from the chat. What up, chat? Do you subscribe? Turn on notifications. Fire off some questions, myself and Will. We're happy to answer them. The more details in those questions, the easier it is to answer. If you want to know about certain players for cash game, for tournaments, for large field tournaments, for MME, that will be the same thing. Single entry, all that good stuff. If it's DK, if it's FanDuel, we're happy to oblige, happy to answer your question. Multitasking producer, Devin D-Train, he's all over that. He's going to be compiling those questions, so feel free to fire them off. And of course, we'll talk plenty of stacks soon enough as well. You're talking about being excited about this slate, and there's a lot of interesting offense, but you know, we're going to talk pitchers. Are we enthused about the arms we have to choose from?
I mean, man, 10K Adam Wainwright, sign me up. I kid. I kid. No, I think they're good pitchers. I mean, you know, come on. The default pitcher. Let's just go right into it, Dean, since we're already there. Is that cool? I think the default pitcher, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I think it's Shohei Ohtani at 8,700 against Texas. I know Texas seems to be hitting the ball, but, you know, if you stick with the long-term season numbers, this team is still the strikeouts rates are astronomical. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projected bats over 20%. Of those 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 are over 25%. And of those 4, 2 are over 30%. Shohei Ohtani's K rate on the season, 30.3% with the 3.86 xFIP. Walk rate is at 9.4. He'll probably walk 1 or 2. But I do expect him to pick up a few Ks. In fact, I saw a prop this morning where he came in at over under 5.5. I said, whoo, that was a tasty one. So obviously, you know, you took the over on that. But
what was the juice at 5.5? Was it a big number on the over? That seems too low.
I can actually tell you, Dean, if you give me a second.
It had to be like minus 190 or something. I can't imagine, but maybe it was just the wrong line.
I got it in actually. Minus 154.
Okay.
That's still incredible in my book.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, came in at 5.5. So yeah, minus 154. But yeah, that's where it was. And but I think he's, in my opinion, I think he's the cash game pitcher and the tournament pitcher. I think he has there's a path where he can get 30 plus fantasy points in this spot. I think, with ease, even without the win. Because I think he could legitimately pick up 8 to 10 strikeouts here. I'm not saying he's going to, I'm saying it's possible. And I definitely think he can go 6. So yeah, that's where I am, I think, in terms of that's kind of the cash game guy, in my opinion. And then after that, I think it gets tricky because I feel like people are going to gravitate to an $8,100 Kyle Gibson. And I don't like Kyle Gibson. I'm just, that's the chalk I'm going to fade. Like, because I think Kyle Gibson's coming in. Last I checked, I thought he was around 40% ownership. 41% projected, at least last time I looked at it. That's an automatic X button for me. I'm not playing Kyle Gibson. And look, he could absolutely go out and get 25 fantasy points. I'm well aware of what I'm doing. He also has an equal opportunity to get blown up just like anybody else. And so for a guy that doesn't have the highest strikeout rate on the season, he's right around 19%, I think. I'm willing to take the fade for Kyle Gibson and maybe go with someone that has a little bit more upside, in maybe a tougher spot like a Husker, Huascar, something like that. I'm not playing Sean Manaea, of course. Maybe even a Cal Quantrill in a worse spot, but a guy that I feel a little bit better about in terms of strikeout upside. And Quantrill's numbers on the season aren't stellar, but this is more so along the lines of his last month or so. So those are kind of some of the things I'm looking at. And then I think if you want to really hit the cheap end, I do think Carlos Hernandez has really good value. It's against a tough team in the White Sox, but at 5,100, if he got 15 fantasy points, great. So I think, and I'll tell you right now, for me in tournaments, I'm probably going to have Hernandez and Ohtani for my single entry stuff. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to plant my flag. Glenn Otto as well. Not sure how you feel about him, but in a spot against LA where, this team is, they've got some pretty high K rates themselves. But some of these guys, I mean, Ohtani's even at 30%, Gosselin, Walsh, Upton, Stassi, they're not some massive team. Otto, I think, is also very much in play. I'd even be willing, I think, Dean, if I wanted to really stack up the bats here, and I'm going to give out 2 teams early, and I'm not saying you have to play these teams, but I'm saying they're really expensive. Like if you think Sean Manaea is broken and you want to stack up the Blue Jays, and I'm talking about get Springer, Semien, Vlad, Bo Bichette, those guys. And then if you also maybe want to play a Houston, I know I talk about Houston all the time. Today is not about, and they are facing Arrieta, so they are a good team to target. This is more about their prices, not playing them right now. It's more about their prices. With Altuve being at 63 and Correa at 5K and Alvarez at 6K, Yuli at 53, you could get away, I think, with and this is tournaments only, a Glenn Otto, Carlos Hernandez build, and stack up all the big bats and just see what happens. I think it's viable in tournaments to run something like that out there for some of your larger priced teams. And there you have it. So I'm going to be quiet there, let you get your piece, Dean, and we'll kick this can down the road.
Yeah, we'll go back and forth on a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of things I have comments on as far as the guys who threw out there. Ohtani, like on DK, the price is goofy. He's big K rate, not the biggest amongst all the arms taking the slate, but one of the safest, if you want to call him that. Well, he's had a couple hiccups. For the most part, he's been safe, despite the fact he's got the reputation of being up and down and high variance and all that, with the potential to walk too many guys. But if there's one hiccup, he was dealing with a hand and a wrist, and he hasn't pitched like in 8 days or something like that. So I assume if he's pitching, he's fine. There's no reason for the Angels to force him out there. They're just playing out the string, get him a good season, whatever. But if he's on the bump, I assume he's good to go and ready to go. You mentioned Hernandez as far as the cheapie at 5.1K. And I would say Ohtani and Kyle Gibson. Let's talk about Gibson real quick. Ohtani and Kyle Gibson is that is the chalk build on DK. Ohtani, Kyle Gibson, and Coors. Like you made that lineup, congratulations. Everybody else did too. It's super, super easy. Like the Braves prices, I'm sure you saw on DK, it's just ridiculous. Some of the Colorado guys are cheap. Buxton is still super cheap. Badu, if you want to punt in the outfield as well, it's really not hard at all to get. Those are the two pitchers you're going to be focusing on. Your cash games, more or less, I hate the term, but kind of sort of build themselves. The thing with Gibson is yes, he's facing the Marlins, great ballpark. He gets to pick on a pitcher as opposed to a DH, but that K rate is really, really putrid on the season. I think it's like 19%. If you care about the last month, it's like 13%.
Yeah, and I do care about the last month. I do weight that into some of my decisions because that's why it's called a trend, right? You know, if a guy's trending in the wrong direction, clearly if the season numbers were stellar, like let's say he was at 25% or 30% of the season, and excuse me, sorry about that, guys, and he's down to about 14%, I think, maybe he's hurt, right? That would be my thought process. But for a guy that's got a 19% K rate on the season, I'm just going to assume normal wear and tear. You know, teams have caught up to him. A little bit warmer weather, probably better ballpark scenarios. As it gets cooler, I do expect it to trend back a little bit more towards pitching in terms of, you know, some of these middle of the road guys that can possibly get a little bit, you know, more pop-ups and things like that as the weather changes. But I'm with you. I'm not playing a chalk Kyle Gibson today. I don't mind Ohtani because he's got the stuff. I'm not playing chalk Kyle Gibson.
I mean, you're probably not supposed to. And on FanDuel, he's like the guy there's like the math says that's what you're, so he's the math play over there as well. Nobody's got a longer leash basically on this slate as well. They'll let him go 100 pitches or so. Philadelphia is trying to make the playoffs still. They still have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. There's no reason why they would, you know, push back on him. They traded for him. And the Marlins are terrible and the ballpark is great, but he's one of those guys, if he gives up like 2 or 3 runs, it's hard for him to recover from that. You know, some guys, you'll give up 3 runs the first inning, who cares? They'll still strike out 10. Like we saw Robbie Ray the other day gave up a leadoff homer, whatever. He'll still strike out 10 and make a difference. And great, he gave up a homer, big deal, doesn't matter. But some of these guys, if they have a rough inning or, you know, just a rough couple of hitters, a couple of homers to give up, the K rate's just not good enough where they can make up the difference and kind of become, you know, worthy to be in your lineup. But again, that Marlins lineup is pretty terrible. I get both sides of it and I don't really know what to do with it. You mentioned Wainwright. He's been fabulous, just spectacular. He is 10K on DK. He's 40 years old. He's a man, but he's been awesome.
He's a man's man.
It's so strange because like Nate Eovaldi has been really good. Like Nate Eovaldi, like he's been spectacular this season, but he's 9.8K. Do you want to pay that much for Eovaldi? Probably not. You know, Manoah's a big arm, and Toronto's another team like doing everything they can to make the playoffs as well. Oakland on the other side, 2 teams in the playoff race. The Manaea on the other side, not in the greatest of form, and who wants to pick on Toronto? I think Manoah is interesting for upside, but certainly not a cash game play. And then you just sort of work your way down. You're talking about Hernandez versus Otto. I prefer Otto. You know, he looked good in his first start. You know, he has some Ks in the minor leagues. Didn't really push him too hard, but you know, what do you really need for a 5K guy? It's a palindrome. I mean, if you need a tiebreaker, who doesn't like a good old palindrome? Only palindrome on the slate. I'm fairly certain they're Glenn Otto. We know the lineup's just yes. Go ahead.
So you go ahead. I do want to revisit something you said that I think is really important in this Oakland Toronto game.
Go ahead. You know, just focus on that because I'm happy to stop. What's important in that game?
So because we were talking about trends and we're talking about the last 30 days, right? And so we've got some pitchers. Let's say like Webb, right, from San Francisco, who's just right. He's trending in the right direction because he was hurt, and now his 30-day numbers are probably going to start getting bumping his season numbers up because Logan Webb was hurt and he needed ramp up and he needed time to get back going, you know. And so now you're probably seeing something a little bit closer to the real Logan Webb. And I'm not saying that Manaea is a fraud, so I don't want you to get that idea. But my point is, his season numbers, right? This season, he's at a 25.2% K rate, 3.84 xFIP. And I'm not saying Manaea is a bad pitcher because typically he does pitch pretty well earlier in the season or, you know, or kind of first half. But let's look at his last 30-day numbers on Plate IQ. He's at a 19% K rate and a 5.13 xFIP. And so those are the things that are alarming to me. Here's what I look at, though. We've got the left side of the plate, we've got the right side of the plate past 30 days. He's faced 20 lefties, 80 righties, which is normal because it's a right-handed world. Left side of the plate, 30% K rate, 0.053 ISO, 184 WOBA, 53% ground ball. I mean, still fantastic. The problem is the platoon splits are getting to him. Right side of the plate, this last 30 days, 16% K rate, 8.8% walk rate, 408 ISO, 513 WOBA, 58% hard hit rate, 24% line drive rate, and today he's running into Toronto. That's a problem for me, right? Like I know the price is there, but to me this smells like something's going on here with the platoons. I don't think it's the fact that he's hurt, right? Because if he was hurt, I think the numbers would be a little bit more normal on the left side of the plate as well. If the K rate's dipping on both sides, getting hit hard from both sides, I say, okay, maybe it's a mechanic issue, maybe he's hurt, something's going on. But left side of the plate, still fantastic. Right side of the plate, really struggling. And today he's got Springer, Semien, Vlad, Bobichette, Teoscar, Kurt, Gurriel, Grichuk, Smith. I don't see a lefty in the lineup. If we follow the trends, we need to be jumping on Toronto today. Like we've been jumping on them against Baltimore, against all these bad pitchers. And I know they didn't come through every day. But when I look at the ownership on Toronto today, 6% for Springer, 2% for Semien, 2%. This is the time to get on Toronto. Nobody's on them. And then pretty much these numbers suggest that we should be including them in our build because of the recent struggles of Manaea. This is how I read plate IQ, people. I do look at the season, but the last 30 days can always give you really good insight. So in my opinion, once again, Manaea's not broken. He's having a platoon issue right now. And today he gets the worst team possible to face with this issue. And I think the Blue Jays could have a field day here. All right, Dean. Sorry, I'll give you.
No, that's interesting, and yeah, that's good for a stack conversation as well. And I took the time to look and see our consensus rankings as far as stacks today. Toronto is one person out of 4 ranked them in the top 5, but as far as the consensus ranking, they're like 7th. And you're right, they're going to be neglected for the most part.
Let me say this, Dean. I saw something in chat, and this is from Daryl Dismutes. And so, Daryl, this isn't me challenging you. This is me giving you the numbers that are in front of me here. So on the season, he's saying Toronto doesn't hit lefties well. That's a lie. That's not true. George Springer he said either Springer or Teoscar. Well, Springer's got a 27% K rate against lefties this year, but the ISO's at 259, the WOBA's at 402, and he's walking at 12% clip. Semien's at a 245 ISO, 23% K rate. Vlad's at a 189 ISO, 13% K rate, 17% walk rate. Bobichette's at a 164 ISO, 368 WOBA, 16% walk rate. Teoscar Hernandez, 367 ISO, 452 WOBA, 21% K rate. Kurt just got there, 7% K rate. Gurriel, 23% K rate. Randall Grichuk, 60%. I don't see where they can't hit lefties. And this is out of 65 plate appearances, 151, 129, 128, 103, 39 for Kirk because he just got there, 122 for Gurriel, 115 for Grichuk. I don't see, I can't agree with you there, buddy. I don't see how they're not hitting lefties. Now, if we want to dive in a little bit more, and I hate to sit on this game and go to sinkers, well, everybody's got pretty good contact numbers, 89%, 86%, 82, 85, 80, 100, 82, 89, 100. I can't agree with you. The stats don't tell me that.
Devin can show show the plate. I could maybe he's showing it right now. I'm not really sure, but it's dummy proof. Not to call it. I mean, a dummy like me can figure this out. Green is good. If it's green, that means they're good at it. And I see a lot of red is bad, and we see more green than red. And it's specific as far as against lefties. And like you said, all sorts of ways to break it down as far as K percent, walk percent, WOBA, ISO, and that's what we care about, the ISO. That's the power. That's what wins, homers, takes down tournaments, obviously. To clean up pitching, more conversation about the pitchers that are kind of sort of meh. Hey, Jesus Luzardo finally had the day. He finally had the day we were chasing. He finally crushed it. So are we going to go back to him? They bumped up his price a little bit, now 7.8K on DK. I think he's still in the conversation of pitchers. Like for me, again, it's Ohtani and Gibson as your that's kind of so your cash guys. You want to get away from it, you certainly can. I think Luzardo is an interesting way to get away from Gibson. Going down a little bit more, Nestor Cortez for New York. He's been pretty good since starting, and his leash is pretty strong as well. Like, they kind of built him back up to a guy that can throw 90, 95 pitches, and the price doesn't really reflect that. As potential pivots away from Gibson, like we said, like you talked about, is going to be super heavily owned. I'm going to pull up the ownership stuff in a second, but I'm going to yield to you. Your thoughts as far as Cortez or Luzardo as pivots away from a chalky Gibson or a chalky.
Yeah, I don't hate Cortez. I think I've seen enough, right, to know that he's got the ability to get to 20 fantasy points. You know, he's facing Baltimore, who can strike out. You know, so I don't hate Cortez at all. Definitely not playing Luzardo at 7,800. And I think it's more of a price thing. Yeah, I know he put it together against Cincinnati, but you know, essentially he's had one really good start and then some kind of meh starts. And so if he's 7,800, my cutoff is, do I think Hernandez or Otto can put up 20 fantasy points? And I think they can, right? And so if they're 5K and they're giving me 20, he's 78, and he's giving me, I don't know, I mean, he's facing Philly today. Maybe he gets 15 points. Like, I don't see the value in the $7,800 price tag when a lot of his performances have been, well, he's kind of been all over the place. Had a rough start, got 14, and you know what I'm saying? And I know I'm using fantasy points, but I just think the cheaper pitchers, in my opinion, present more value than these middle of the road guys like Means, Rich Hill, Waka. Cortez, I don't mind a little bit. Cal Quantrill, like I said, I don't.
He's been
mind.
great.
Yeah, and he's 7,200. He's also cheaper than Luzardo. I can't play Luzardo over most of these guys. So that's kind of where I am. But I do think the value is in Otto and Hernandez. I think that's where the baked in value is. Otto, Hernandez, and then, you know, kind of moving up from there.
Yeah. The other part of it is I don't know how much we need those savings. We'll talk about it. There's some really, but again, there's ways to be different. If you know, Toronto's not cheap, Houston's not cheap. With Altuve is like 6.3K. Like, nobody's playing Altuve. And it's on paper, it's a bad play, but if he goes out there and has a big day, then all of a sudden it becomes a great play. Hey, the thing we're talking about, the Plate IQ, all the tools we're referencing, you guys can have access to that, use them at your own leisure. How do you do that? You get $10 off your first month of the subscription here to Rotogrinders. You can get just one sport, just baseball. Why would you want that with football right around the corner? College, we have college content, you know, last night college content. Head Chopper. I'm not sure if you saw this, but Head Chopper took down.
Of course I know this, Dean. Come on, man. Come on now. The college football Discord is like the best Discord in all of DFS. It's such a good community, good family. Everybody wants to help everybody out. Everybody tries to be on top of the news and keep everybody informed. I mean, my boy Sean is in there. PSU fans too. Fear My Turtle. I mean, man, just the legendary college football analysts are all in the chat. You get to talk to Dan Bach more than any other time during the season if you can just sit in that college football Discord chat. So, I mean, it's legends in there, man. Legends.
All college football slates are information slates, right? Like, it's as
all
opposed to, like, it's so important to know
every single one,
little nuances. And
in fact, I'm in the college football Discord while we're on the show. I'm not saying anything, but I am. I'm following the news.
Are you playing a little bit tonight?
Absolutely, for sure. And then tomorrow's the big one. So yeah, man, this is a big deal.
Is it too early to crown UCF national championships? Two-time national champion?
Way too early, Dean. Way too early. I'm an Ohio State fan, and I know not to get rolling yet until we go through the Big Ten. You know, we start handling the Big Ten, then I say, okay, you know, maybe we've got a shot to go to the playoff. No hiccups. Got to win the big games. But yeah,
why is Ohio State your team? You're from like.
I'm not. Right? I'll explain it. So when I was a kid, I was actually a Eddie George fan.
Okay.
And Eddie George with Ohio State, and so I was a Ohio State fan, and I've been a fan ever since. And actually, I was actually a Tennessee Titans fan as well, because he went to the Houston Oilers, and then they moved to Tennessee, and then they were the Titans, and so I was a Titans fan as a kid for a while. Now, clearly, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan to date, but you know, as a kid, because I liked Eddie George, that's how I was a Titans fan for a brief period there.
funny. When I was a kid, I was a Houston Oilers fan. I love the run and shoot, and I love Warren Moon, and they was the most fun team to watch. But I have no ties to Texas. I just thought they were a fun team to watch. Didn't like the Dolphins from Miami. All right. Oh, I didn't finish the rest of the promo. Yeah. Either way, $10 off. I'm sure Devin threw it there in the chat. What up, chat? Do like, subscribe, turn on notifications, fire off some questions. We'll get to them later on in the show. $10 off for one sport or all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, golf, everything with the exception of NASCAR, all the college stuff as well. $10 off. Have at it. Join it. And join the Discord too. Like, not everybody knows to take advantage of that. And like you said, especially for some like NFL content, you can find it, pretty simply. With college stuff, there's a lot of nuances to kind of go through. Like we saw last night. Oh, go ahead.
And last thing too, in college, literally one piece of news in the Discord that we get that no other subscriber gets or no other provider gets, that could be the difference between like all of us at the top and everybody else behind us. Like it's crazy. You get one piece of news about a running back being out and nobody else knows, and you get that cheap 3K running back that, I mean, it's literally 2% owned because there's only our chat that has it. It's amazing. It's incredible.
We saw it last night, and this is stuff you can't plan for, but the running back for Boise was scratched like after lock, or they just said,
exactly.
He's not playing. Like, just nobody knew, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's, what are you gonna do?
But if we had an idea, because everybody, every college football content people, they're following the news, but still, our guys, I'm telling you, I believe wholeheartedly that they are the best, and so it's their thing.
I'm running down the extremes today as far as umpires. Extreme pitchers umpire. We got just one extreme pitchers umpire for Eovaldi and Quantrill. So slight little bump there for both those pitchers if you're on them. And they're both in the pool. If you're running one.
Is it Bill Miller? It's not.
It's not. Dan Bellino, apparently.
Okay.
If I'm reading that correctly. But there's a lot of extreme hitters umpire. Extreme hitters umpire for John Means. Of course, that means Nestor Cortez as well on the other side. Michael Waka, Dallas Keuchel. Well, that's not going to be good for him. The Uber driver, Randy Dobnak, extreme hitters umpire. Welcome back. That's not good for him either. That's not going to go well, I don't think. And he was an Uber driver. I'm not insulting him. That's what his.
Oh, I know. It's just funny. It's Dean. Listen, I must say, man, classic part of this show is getting the nicknames squeezed into their real names.
Got to get them.
And if you've listened to this show long enough, Dean comes up with these nicknames, right? And he says them every time. And so then I watch baseball and I'm saying, look, there's Jonathan Scope, the mouthwash.
There it is.
And they're like, what? Who's that? Oh, sorry. Or like when Jonathan Loa Seager from the New York Yankees was pitching, we were calling him Johnny Lasagna. And so I just kept calling him Johnny Lasagna.
That's somebody else's. I don't think that one's mine.
I think that was actually Kurt Dees. I think that was Kurt Dees, but still, we get these nicknames, man. Incredible.
Rich Hill is really cheap if you're interested in him. Oh, speaking of nicknames, Dick Mountain, Rich Hill. There you go. Remember that when you remember that the players get to put their names in their back of their jersey? Remember that was a thing, like a players' weekend. Like he wanted to be Dick Mountain, and I don't think they let him. I think they shot that down. I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted. He's cheap. There's not a lot to talk about as far as the pitchers. I don't know what else. Oh, Freddie Peralta. We should acknowledge his existence. And my issue with Freddie Peralta is he's coming back from the IL. Not a huge, he wasn't away for a long time. He's a great pitcher. I just can't see him throwing a ton of baseballs. I don't see him going very deep. Maybe 5 innings.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
He could strike out 10 and 5. Like that could happen, but. Milwaukee their ticket is already punched. Well, not literally. It's a 99% chance of making the playoffs, like 99% chance of winning that division. They pushed back on his innings. If you look at his pitch log previously, if you look at the time he came back from IL before, previously it was like 70 pitches or so. They pulled him out. I just don't see why they would push him. They don't care about today. They care about a month from today. So
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong on that stance. I haven't seen coach speak on it, but I just don't think. And like Optimals are pumping him out, and I'm gonna stop playing him. Maybe that's a mistake.
Yeah, I'm not playing him either, so I like it.
Give me a summary as far as the arms.
I mean, for me, I think it's I want to give it to you from a tournament perspective, Dean, and then you can just do cash. I think for tournaments, it's Ohtani at the top for me, and it's Otto and it's Hernandez. And then maybe Nestor Cortez. And then as we kind of flip this thing back around, I would say Nathan Eovaldi Just kind of on the comeback. I know I haven't talked about him, but that's kind of where I am. But I don't feel like I have to play Eovaldi. I really think it's Ohtani and one of these cheap pitchers, Otto or Hernandez. Keep in mind, I did say for tournaments, I do think there's value in a Hernandez Otto pairing to get all the big bats you want.
Yeah, you can get anybody you want if you roster those two. And you talk about opportunity cost for pitchers. Like, I don't know what the opportunity. It's like when Scherzer and Cole were on the slate the other day. It's like I just locked both those guys in, and Scherzer had a hammy or something like that. He came out of the game and they gave up the lead in about 2 pitches or something like that. It was not good. But do you see any of these pitchers? Like, there's a lot of pitchers that have a chance to get there, but who's gonna put up a monster score today? Like, it probably doesn't happen. Maybe like nobody's throwing 15 guys.
I mean, I think Ohtani can get there, and I think Ohtani can get to 30. But here's the thing: a monster score for a 5K pitcher could be 25 fantasy points. Like, they're too cheap for it to not count. You know what I mean? So I think Otto or Hernandez or both are in play for sure.
Yeah, no Angels lineup just yet. No Rangers lineup just yet. That's a West Coast game. Trying to see what else. We have a Dodgers lineup. It's pretty standard, I think, if I'm reading this correctly. Turner, Muncy, Betts, Turner, both Turners, Seager, Will Smith, Taylor, Bellinger, former MVP batting 8th. Brewers is out. Looks Peterson, Adames, Yelich, Escobar, Navarez, Urias, Tellez, Kane. All right, let's talk about some stacks before we talk.
Let's talk about it.
Stacks. Yeah,
please. Let's talk about stacks, man.
I'm going to run down. I referenced our consensus rankings as far as stacks today. No surprise. Your Atlanta Braves are number 1 in the, they're in Colorado today facing Senzatella, who, by the way, like, Senzatella is an annoying guy to like stack against. He gets a ton of ground balls. He gets a ton of double plays. If you sort every single pitcher on the slate, this is wild. Every single pitcher, sort them all. You know who has the lowest? Well, I'm telling you the answer. This is like Jeopardy. I give you the answer for the question, but do you know who has the lowest home run per 9 on the season? In 125 innings, Senzatella's homer per 9 is 0.65. Doesn't go with homers, and he has a 52% ground ball rate. Not saying he's a great pitcher, but he's got skills.
Well, I mean, if you look at his season numbers, I mean, really, he's got a 16.1% K rate on the season. xFIP is at 4.4. I mean, for a guy that's pretty cheap most of the time and is expected to get pounded, he's done pretty well. And then over the last 30 days, he's got a 17.7% K rate, 4.19 xFIP, and a 4.8 walk rate. And he's pretty, 26% K rate to lefties. But bottom line is, he's a guy that's not going to get strikeouts, but he's going to get a lot of ground balls. And then he has to hope BABIP is on his side, most of the games. That's just who he is. Now, here's what I think his ceiling is as his career goes along. I think he becomes Wade Miley. And here's what I mean by that. I think as he gets older, he's going to have to get away from that fastball and probably go a little bit more cutter, which will continue to get the ground balls going. So anyway, that's just a little FYI, my idea. But anyway, you go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, the rest of the stacks, as far as our consensus rankings, we have Cincinnati 2nd, the Yankees 3rd, Houston 4th against the very dusty Jake Arrieta. The Mets, I ranked the Mets. I kind of like the Mets today versus Sean Nolan. Sean Nolan is not a prospect. He's a 31-year-old, just eating some innings. It's a massive ballpark upgrade, really, going from New York's ballpark to Washington, which is probably like top 6, top 7 to hit in. You're locked in for 9 innings as well. I like some of the prices. I like the Mets today, which is something I haven't said in a while. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Tampa's also on the board. Toronto's on the board, then Boston as well. And I mean, Boston always sort of interesting. They're without, Kike and not leading off. Their lineup's a little bit different, but that ballpark there in Tampa's not appealing. That's who they're facing, right? I don't know why. No, yeah. They're not. Yeah, they're against Cleveland. Yeah, I forgot that was yesterday. It's a new day. All right, talking about those stacks, who's kind of jumping out for you? Anybody that should be on the board that you did not acknowledge? Or is it really too high?
I mean, like I said, I think everybody's fine. I'm just heading a different direction today. I'm going to be piling up some Blue Jays because they're not getting any ownership, and I'm going to try to trust these trendy numbers of Sean Manaea facing righties here, and the fact that he's struggling. And guess what? Let's see if I'm right. And if I'm right, things can shift in my favor very quickly. If I'm wrong, you know what I do? See you tomorrow. It's all good. So that's where I am. I do think if you think Luzardo just kind of had a random good game, I do think the Phillies have some value. I mean, Segura's finally back under 5K now. He's 4,600. Real Muto, Andrew McCutchen, 36. Look, this lineup isn't fantastic, but you got Matt Vierling at 2K. So I'm just saying, if you think Luzardo had just a random good game, then I think the Phillies have some value pieces that we can get behind. Cincinnati, where were they? 2, 3, somewhere up in there?
Yeah, they're pretty highly ranked today.
Yeah. Like Cincinnati today. And while we're on that, I know since I brought up Cincinnati, I'll wait till the home run calls. I do have a guy that I think has a good shot at going yards. So I think all the calls are good. I probably would bump up the Blue Jays in Toronto a little bit more than some of these other teams, but nothing more than that.
Is your guy Aristides Aquino?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if you're going to go with like Chalky Castellanos or something like that.
No Chalky. I don't think he's got as good of a shot to hit a home run as this other guy. So
all right. Well, I'll stop guessing. Philadelphia rolling out 2 catchers today, by the way. First baseman JT Realmuto, because Rhys Hoskins is out for the season. Marchand is the actual catcher. As far as just actual lineup stuff, it might be kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Means in Yankee Stadium against all that power. As far as the Yankees, you have to acknowledge their existence, of course. How about Colorado? You mentioned Yanoa. You just kind of mentioned him in passing. Colorado distinctly better at home, no surprise, than they are on the road. Some of their better bats it's about as good as a lineup they can put together against Yanoa. Any interest as far as the Rockies?
Not really. Remember, so Dean, you have to remember this is also the reason why I'm probably not playing a whole lot of Braves today. The only reason I thought the Rockies or that game was a little bit more important yesterday, the slate was just too small. On large slates, you can bank on it. I'm not playing anybody from Coors. Prices are great, but you can bank on it. No need for me to play Coors when you got all these other really good teams out there.
People aren't playing the Dodgers. I'm just saying, like, nobody's going to play them. No, the Dodgers. Just a thought. You can do it. If you're running out a bunch of lineups, like, don't ignore them.
Correct.
Rangers lineup just came out. Hernandez, IKF, Garcia. The Cuban Missile, I should say, we saw Kirk Dees in chat. He was talking about that's a nickname he gave him. He's trying to make it happen for sure. It's his own personal fetch. Oh, also, I meant to say, I hope Phil's doing well. I hope Phil is recovering well there. I meant to slide into Kirk Dees' DMs. I never did that, but best wishes to Phil, his dog. All right. Should we turn this over to Devin?
Let's go, man. It's question time. It's question time. It's question time.
It's question time. I'm here. How's it going, guys?
Questions for us? What's up?
I do. I have a lot of questions. We'll start with our stacks game, I think. Let's see. We'll start with Dean. Go to the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, this is what the kids would call a leverage play. By the way, I just went on the Twitter machine, and I've been told somebody that's watching, Bill Coleman, apparently Dig Mountain. Rich Hill did let it happen. There's visual evidence, D Mountain. So there you go.
If there's anything we need visual evidence of.
What's great is the photo also has it's Wiener Schnitzel, I believe. If you know that out west, that's a hot dog company. So it all works out. There's some synergy there for sure.
So tongue in cheek.
I don't know. So the Marlins, like, again, if you think that leverage is a thing, and it's kind of sort of some other thing, and if you're going to use that term appropriately, the Marlins should be leverage against a super, super chalky pitcher, but then you have to roster Marlins. I'll say I think they're playable. I'm not going to go full stack, but I like them as like a little mid stack, Jazz, Aguiar. So I'll say 2 and a 3.5.
1-1.
All right. And actually, I forgot we were going to touch on some cash thoughts. Dean, do you want to do a quick around the horn real quick, and we'll jump back into stacks?
I can do that. Yeah, sure. Let me get my
go right ahead, Deeks. I'm not playing cash.
Okay, so this is DK centric. Apologies if you can mostly translate this to Fendel as well. Ohtani and Gibson is probably your cash game pairing. It just is what it is. Like, that's if you want to step down the Nestor Cortez instead of Gibson, you probably can. I don't think that's what you should do. It should probably be Ohtani and Gibson in cash. For tournaments, for cash for catcher. Darno at 4.2K is probably where you want to be. I don't know if you necessarily, I don't think you have to fully punt, but if you have to fully punt it, it's probably something like Tom Murphy or even Buster Posey's too cheap for Buster Posey, 3.6K. A spend up, Sal Perez is always interesting in tournaments. He's burned me the last few days, but I keep going back to him. And Tyler Stevenson batting second. Good with that. First base, Fat Five Freddie Freeman, come on. In Coors Field, that's what you want. I do love the Pete Alonso play for tournaments at 4.8K, depending on how ownership reflects that. And even Luke Voigt at 3.7K, good with that as well. Ozzy Albies is back. He's on the road in Coors leading off. Nobody's better positioned for 5 ABs today. Love him. If you can get there, by all means, have at it. I like India leading off for Cincinnati as well. For whatever reason, you cannot get to Albies. Arise is leading off, I believe, as a full punt. He's not good, but he's super, super cheap. Probably not necessary, but if you absolutely need it, fine. Rogers is good as well, 4.3K. Third base, Josh Donaldson still too cheap on DK at 3.8K. Eugenio Suarez is 4.1K. Maybe that's Chiefs guy for a potential homer there in Cincinnati. We'll see. Stay tuned for that. Austin Riley, if you have all the money in the world, by all means. I like BR, especially on FanDuel, where he is really, really cheap. Good with him on DK as well. I believe he's leading off on the road, well positioned. Same deal as far as shortstop. It's scores. You're looking at Swanson, you're looking at Rogers, looking at Story. I'm not sure which one you necessarily have to have. Always love Adalberto Mondesi, Jack in the Bag potential in tournaments. They moved him all the way up to 6th. What are you doing, Royals? You're killing me. Why is he batting 6th tonight? Ridiculous. Jorge Soler, goofy price, 3.9K. What are we doing? He's your cash game du jour. Byron Buxton, I know he has not been great since coming back, but still 3.4K. That's a goofy price. Badu, 3.6K, too cheap leading off. I do think it's really interesting to spend up in the outfield in tournaments because there's some really bad prices in the outfield. That's where you're supposed to save. Soler, Buxton, Badu, like those guys they're all too cheap and they make a ton of sense in cash. For tournaments, Castellanos, Jordan Alvarez, Aaron Judge, all those guys. All right, I'll turn it over to Devin.
Well done. Hit that like button for Dean's cash rundown, everybody. Will, Diamondbacks.
Yes. Man. 3 and 3.
All right, Dean.
Diamondbacks?
The ones from Arizona.
Yeah. No. 1.5, whatever. No interest really.
All right,
I'm not a believer in Tyler Anderson, just so we know.
I'm not a believer in Drew Ellis or Stuart. There's a person named Stuart Fairchild playing baseball for Arizona. Who is that?
I hope everybody knows what just happened. I'm pretty sure we just got a mush on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Dean, Braves.
Yeah, I mean, look, ownership is obviously a thing, but there's nobody better positioned, so they're a 5 and a 5. That's it.
5-5, but I'm not playing any bats from Coors.
And that's an ownership play, just so everybody understands, not projections play. Will, Mets.
2-2.
I like the Mets, man. Good. I like them all. Like BR, I like Baez. Again, this Nolan is, come on. I'm going to say a 4 and a 4. I like the Mets today.
All right, Dean, Dodgers.
Oof. Disco Fani, he had a weird start last time where they gave him a quick hook and there was potentially an injury, but they said he's fine. And this will be playoff atmosphere if you like that kind of thing. It's going to be an awesome game to watch from that kind of perspective. Two teams that are battling out the NL West. But I suspect we're going to look at like a 4-3 kind of game. That's my guess. So I'm going to say 2.5, 3. They're fine, but I don't need it.
We're talking about the Dodgers, correct?
The Dodgers, yeah.
Yeah, 3-3.
All right, Will, Yankees.
5-4.
Who's your favorite Yankee today?
Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Oh, Gleyber Torres is back, by the way, just in time to face the Orioles. And if you've ever looked at Gleyber Torres' stats, like overall stats and just specifically versus Baltimore, he owes like whatever his future contract, like 30% to the Baltimore pitching staff or something like that. He just shellaxed them.
Player versus team stats.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of check out too because Baltimore's pitchers are rough, but he has the wildest career stats against Baltimore and against everybody else. Yeah, I like New York. It's a 4 and a 4. I like the Yankees here versus Johnny Means.
Detroit, Dean.
Yeah, Gutierrez is not spectacular. It's a nice ballpark. He's okay. This Detroit team, I like the mouthwash a little bit. I like Badu as well. So I like a little mini stack for Detroit. So not so much for a full stack, 1.5, but I'm good with the mini stack. So 3, 1.5 and 3.
Not playing Detroit at all.
No Detroit. Houston, I imagine, is a different answer.
Oh, come on, man. 5-5. I play Houston almost every slate. It's ridiculous. 5-5 though.
You talk about nobody owning Toronto. Nobody's going to own Houston because some of the prices are pretty extravagant, and also they're on the West Coast. You know, their lineup's not out just yet.
Yeah, people want that instant gratification, Dean. They want it now.
I want to lose my money now, not 3 hours from now. Yeah, I think Houston's a spectacular tournament team today.
It's hard to get them. That's why I keep telling people, Dean, this double cheap pitcher, if you want to play some big bats, is viable today. I'm telling the people, I'm trying to give it to them, but I know they think I'm crazy here.
And while
I know the answer, I'm going to ask. I know the answer. Who's your favorite Houston Astro? It's the same answer every day, right? Who's your favorite Astro?
It's because he's too cheap. If they price him up to $5K, I'll change my answer. Of course, it's Michael Brantley. He's $4K and under every day.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
I love Alvarez, but go ahead, Devin.
We're going to pause the stacks game to touch on this quick question from Jay. Will's thought process for double paying down on SPs with a Toronto or Houston stack. Do you think that's good for single entry?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, the reason being is, do you know how unique it's going to be if you've got like 5 bats in your lineup that are 5 and 6? Nobody's doing that today.
14 games.
And it doesn't even matter that I keep telling people like, hey, I'm probably going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. And I'm not saying that both of these teams are going to go out and score 10 runs either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is the road less traveled. This is our Henry David Thoreau moment today. You know,
who had that on the board?
I love it.
Henry David Thoreau reference.
We got to dust off that corner of the bingo card.
You know,
Dean, Twins.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted to just follow up on that last thought and that idea of that single entry, because what you notice with single entry as far as ownership, they get super, super condensed. I play super entry, a good single entry, a good bit. And like, it's a bet against Coors. It's a bet against the Braves. That's basically
chalk gets chalkier.
Yeah, the chalk gets super because nobody wants to take that risk. Like, this is my one lineup only. Like, let me put my best, quote unquote, best optimal lineup out there. And we know the variance of baseball. That's if that game, you know, if Santatella gets his 4 double plays and Atlanta just doesn't get their homer, which again, we've seen that before with Santatella, that can happen. I think it's a really interesting move to do. Like, you're going to be so much on your own island, but if it works out, you know, party, have a good time. What was the team you said there, Devin?
Lightning round, Twins.
Yeah, hate that ballpark, but some good prices. I'll say 3 and 3.5, just because they kind of make stuff work.
Yeah, price is great. I'm same boat as Dean.
Washington, Will.
I'm just not playing Washington. 0-0. Sorry, I didn't answer your question.
Soto's an incredible one-off. I'll say 1.5 and 2.5.
Cleveland, Dean.
No. 1.5 across the board. Yeah.
No Cleveland for me.
All right. Angels, Will.
No Angels.
I mean, you can't play Ohtani. Like, what?
That's the only bat.
Yeah, that lineup did come out. Ohtani is hitting second for what it's worth. Walsh is in there. He's fine. But yeah, I can't get excited about it.
Texas, Dean.
No, it's a leverage play, right? But no, I got into a whole conversation with somebody in the industry off here about Texas, and they're trying to convince me Texas is good. And I'm like, nope, my arms are crossed the whole time. No, 1.5 for Texas.
0.
I might try out some mini Texas stacks, but Will, Baltimore, last one.
No. 1-1.
No.
I love when the answer is just a no.
1.5. I'll give him a little bit of respect. They're still like, you know, Austin Hayes is an interesting little punt. If you need he's like 2.2K on DK. If you need a flat out punt, sure. But yeah.
All right, super lightning round. Alan wants to know mini KC stacks, DK tournaments. Dean.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
All right, Will, DK, good low owned stacked for Tony. Toronto. Peter for Dean, DK tournaments. Thoughts on Rays and Reds versus a Colorado stack? Probably fade Colorado in tournaments, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's more of a large field stuff. Like the Rays have great hitters, but like Dobnak's not great. But yeah, that's not something I'm going to do in a smaller tournament, but I get it for a big tournament.
All right, Matthew wants to know FanDuel tournament best SP, Dean. Who are you going for with tournaments?
Yeah, I would say Otani, but people aren't playing Otani on FanDuel.
It's pretty spread out from what I was looking at ownership-wise.
He's the most expensive guy.
Will, DK single entry, 121 and 200 entry, 45 people. Would you use the same lineup between the two, or would you do separate lineups? Two different lineups.
You said the 121?
The 121 and the 200.
Oh, I use the same for all my single entry. That's just what I do. And I differentiate it in the large field.
Yeah, and the 20 max and whatnot.
Yeah.
Dean, Stan wants to know tournament thoughts on Gutierrez.
I'm not playing him. He can get there, but it's not for me.
All right. Let's see. Stan wants to know tournament interest in Anderson. I think, Will, you said you had a little interest, or you respected him, I think was your terms.
No, I was saying I was actually saying I don't have a whole lot of respect for Anderson. Low K rates in Arizona mostly. Which I gotta get out these home run calls, man.
Yeah, we got a couple of seconds here. Let's go ahead and get out those home run calls.
Judge Stevenson from Cincinnati, that was the guy. Meadows, Soler, Ketel Marte from Arizona.
From Arizona, Dean.
Yeah, yes.
Dean Marte from Arizona.
Yeah.
The mush lineup stack of the night.
His friends aren't any good though.
I'm gonna have so many mini stacks of Arizona. I have to test this. Dean, you got any home runs?
Sure, but I didn't have any on layaway, unfortunately. I will say Yordan Alvarez. Yeah, Yordan Alvarez is gonna bang one out. And I'm pulling up my rankings right now. It's trying to make it easier for myself. And a couple of Mets. I'll say Javi Baez gets a hold of one. And Pete Alonso. The Mets are like three. Yeah, Pete Alonso and Lindor. Terrible season, but he's going to bang one out tonight. We should mention, by the way, football content right around the show, right around the corner. I know, Chief, if you guys are premium members, you're going to be on the Blitz show. It's on Sundays with Derek Carty and Alex Dunlap. Wednesday nights, I'm doing the Pick Six show with two of the best football minds out there, Daigle and Rebar. Tons of content. More reason to hit like and hit subscribe and join the RG family and get yourself $10 off RG Premium. We'll go ahead and drop that link in chat for the people. Is there anything else we have here, Devin, for the road, or should we step aside and get out of here?
Will, did you drop any early bird specials on Prize Picks today?
Man, you know what? I did not, but here's what I will tell you.
Perfect.
For baseball, I love the bet. We've got Jose Altuve over under a half a run. Just take the over. just take it.
Half a run.
Just take it. Marcus Semien at 6.5 fantasy points took the over. Michael Brantley, of course, over 1.5 hits and walks. I took the over. Yeah, roll with that.
Dean, you want to take us home?
Yeah, who's on Crunch Time tonight?
We got Britt filling in for Kevin. It's moving day for Kevin. Britt's filling in with Cardi and Keith Eister. All
right, that'll be fun. That'll be good times. Thankfully, I don't think there's too much to worry about. Don't hold me to it. I don't think there's much to worry about as far as the weather. Again, if there is, they'll let you know. We got to step aside and get out of here. Make way for Crunch Time. Thanks for watching. On the way out, please hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. That was Will. That was Devin. I was Dean. That was Baseball. We're out of here. Over.